Joining me now from Southern California, managing host and editor of MRC-TV, Brittany Hughes. Brittany, China is a little bit of a different animal compared to, say, our allies in Europe or possibly Canada and Mexico. China is what most people would consider the enemy. They've been stealing our technology. And so we now have a president who's saying, hey, this needs to stop. I'm going to hit you with these tariffs. I'm going to tax the heck out of you until you stop compromising our national security.
Yeah, so China's always kind of been a bad actor. I mean, they have a history of devaluing their own currency. They have stolen intellectual property. They have definitely taken advantage of trade deals. This is something that has been long-standing with them that they have a reputation for doing. And I think what's important here, particularly to Trump voters and to people that want to see America succeed, is, this is a promise that Trump campaigned on, the promise of putting America first, the promise of not letting China continue to take advantage of us and our trade policies. And so, again, there's arguments on both sides whether or not tariffs are going to work, whether or not Trump's plan is going to ultimately bring about the results that he's promised, but at least he's doing something, and it's not something that we would have seen under a President Hillary Clinton. And I think that it's fulfilling a campaign promise. That's one thing that really resonates with the voters, with many Americans who want a stronger America, who don't want to continue to kowtow to people who will take advantage of us. Yep. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the future holds with this.
Yeah, and I think the president knows what he's doing here. He knows his history. He knows that tariffs are devastating. He knows Smoot-Hawley from the 1930s and is using this as a bargaining chip against a communist country. And by the way, speaking of communists, now we have John Brennan running around the country now, the former CIA director for Barack Obama. How in the world he got his security clearance, given his background of voting for and supporting communists, is unbelievable to me. And now there's a move to say, hey, it's time he sheds that.
Yeah. So the big news of that today is, of course, Rand Paul said that he was going to be meeting with President Trump today to discuss revoking John Brennan's security clearance. I think here one of the most important things to remember, it's not very uncommon for a top intelligence official to continue to have a security clearance after they leave that post. But I think that considering the fact that John Brennan has signed on basically as a member of the media and continues to have a security clearance, I think one of the bigger questions is that there are questions of if he is continuing to get information that he should not have, that he does not have a need-to-know basis for, and is leaking that or using that, which is Rand Paul's allegation, which is something that Trump has spoken to. I think those are questions that, particularly in light of recent developments with, with Peter Strzok and with James Comey, that's something that the American people deserve to know. Those are questions that deserve answers.
Yeah, we also deserve an answer as to why this guy ever got confirmed. Here's a guy who supported openly communist candidates in this country and that philosophy necessarily, yet he was #1 intel guy in this nation. It's absolutely unbelievable when you piece this thing together. And what's driving the Democrats nuts right now is polling for President Trump. It's not tanking. In fact, it's looking pretty good. So despite all the spin, despite all the attacks, despite the withering assault from the mainstream media, President Trump's approval rating's hanging in there.
It has. According to an NBC poll, it actually, for them, it hit a record 45%. So I think one of the other things to remember here is that that's primarily driven by Republicans, which tells you a couple things. First of all, approval rating in that poll for Donald Trump is 9% among Democrats, 88% among Republicans. So there's definitely a polarization in the country, whether you like him, whether you don't, based on your political party. But the other thing I think it points out is that Republicans have become increasingly supportive of Donald Trump. And I think it's because many of them, I think, were wary when they first voted for him, or maybe they didn't even vote for him, of whether or not he would fulfill a lot of his campaign promises, and he has. And I think that's something that's really resonated.
And I think that's good news going into an election cycle in November. Brittany, thank you.
Thank you.